Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donohue and Sonia Mansfield, talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donohue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. We were a few minutes in, and when I realized I forgot to hit record, so we sound a little goofy at the top of the show. That's why.
We are super warmed up.
We are indeed. It's the day after Thanksgiving. Most people take that day off, or they're beating the shit out of other people in a store somewhere trying to get a big screen TV.
Ugh, I hope y'all aren't doing that.
Please don't do that, y'all. They have good discounts online. Don't go through all that crap. But we hope you had a good Thanksgiving, and we hope you're having a nice Christmas holiday season, Hanukkah holidays, whatever you celebrate, winter solstice, whatever.
Tis the seasons. Good tidings to yours.
Fellowship to all. We
Yes.
love that and wish that upon all of you. We are the podcast that talks about creeps from the past to the present. And today we're talking about a creep and his org. We're going to find out. They are from Shreveport, Louisiana. My non-creep today, so if this is your first time, we always come up with a non-creep to try to match the creep, kind of fight out that creepitude and leave you with a good feeling, especially because it's the holiday season. So you will find out who this is at the very end of the show after Sonia is doing her thing. Mm-hmm. We are on Facebook. We have a basic Facebook page. You know, you can like it if you want. We don't really check it. It's someplace where someone goes to complain about our language. This is your warning. We use salty language in this show.
Fuck yeah.
If you want to join our Facebook group, I forgot to mention that. You need to. It's a great Facebook group. We post things in there about creeps and non-creeps, and we have a good time. It's a private group. What a Creep podcast group in Facebook. You do have to answer a few questions and promise not to be an asshole. And if you can do that basic stuff, welcome.
And if you can't, we will kick you out. We do not tolerate that kind of stuff. We will
kick you out.
Kick you out. We don't tolerate that sort of thing. If you're showing up to pick fights with people, you pick the wrong group.
Find
we don't
another
do that
group.
here.
Some people don't give a shit. They just want tons of members, and they don't care if there's infighting.
We don't like.
We know likey. We like it this way. So anyway, we are on Twitter at CreepPod. As long as Twitter exists, we did an episode about the leader in charge there a while ago.
So
you can find
gross.
it. But we're
gross.
We're at CreepPod on Twitter only because someone had What a Creep on Twitter for 10 years and never used it.
Creep.
We're on Instagram at What a Creep Podcast. Please follow us there. And we have a basic old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. You can send us your suggestions for creeps and non-creeps. We're always looking for those. You can just say hi if you want to. And if you would like some stickers, send us your address, and wherever you are on the planet of Earth, we will get stickers out to you. We're not taking that SpaceX bullshit machine anywhere. We're staying on this planet. We're kind of stuck here for a while.
Elon Musk makes things that explode. I'm not getting on SpaceX, and I'm not getting a Tesla.
I can't afford one, but okay, I won't either. That's my stance.
I was saving up all that Patreon money for a Tesla. Damn it. I wasn't.
Do you want to tell them about the website?
Yes, you can go to whatacreeppodcast.com, and it's everything you ever wanted to know about our show, but we're afraid to ask. Speaking of our Patreon, in our website, in each of the episodes listed, we have our show notes. That's actually where our Patreon money goes. We actually subscribe to a lot of news outlets, a lot of the places that do the dirty work for us. All of our episodes are sourced. You can find them there. And there's a link to our merch shop. 'Tis the season, like we said. Get your T-shirts and notebooks and tote bags and face masks because COVID's still a thing. Y'all protect yourselves, please. And you should do that. There are also a link to our Patreon page. You want to tell them about that?
Yeah, so real quick, we do have a Patreon page. It helps us pay for the costs of the show. We're an independent show. We have our first 4 seasons there, soon to be 5. That'll just be on the Patreon wall. We put out 2 bonus episodes a month, and we have a newsletter that Sonia puts together that's really awesome. So all those things.
Oh, thank you.
And if you want to support the show, that's a great way to do it. If money is tight, we understand that. Totally.
Yes.
If you could leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts, that would be amazing. If you leave us a 5-star review in iTunes, we'll give you a shout out on the air. And the latest one was from Griffey. So thank you, Griffey, for doing just that. And
it helps us find our people.
Exactly. It also helps us find our people, and also help, when you get a lot of good reviews, iTunes puts you up there a little bit more, and they match us with really cool shows. If anybody can figure out how we can get Tony Robbins not listed as our guest in iTunes, is there anyone who knows how to do that? Please tell me, because his stupid mug shows up every time I look up reviews. No,
I'm so worried
that subject, but not a guest. There's a difference.
Yeah, that people are going to see that and think that Tony Robbins is somehow running our show, is a part of our show. He was a subject of one of our episodes.
We're not going to make you walk on fire.
It's so weird. Why do they do that?
I don't know. So if any of y'all know, please clue us in. That would be amazing. Sonia, I think we've done everything, have we not?
I believe we have.
All right. So
Are you
ready to rock? I'm ready to rock. You can rock me now.
Yeah, let's rock. Actually, they don't condone rocking these organizations.
Or rolling?
Or rolling. That is frowned upon.
Ugh.
So we are going to be talking about James Dobson. He is an American evangelical, not angelical. One time I misspoke and said angelical. And we have someone who listened to the show and will not let me forget it. Evangelical Christian author, founder of Focus on the Family and the Family Research Council. So we're going to get into all of that. He has produced the daily radio show program Focus on the Family. It's broadcast in over 12 languages. It's on over 7,000 stations in 164 countries. It's also got...
With Howard Stern? Do they do butt bomb?
With Howard Stern.
Bongo?
They do. No. Also frowned upon. They also have a show that is on 60 television stations daily throughout the country. He founded the Family Research Council in 1981. This has been designated as a hate group, by the way, by the Southern Poverty Law Center. So that's awesome. He's written more than 30 books on family issues, things about parenting and marriage, frequent guest on Fox News. In the 80s, he was ranked as one of the most influential spokesmen for the conservative social movement. That includes people like Falwell, by the way. We're going to be talking about him at some point. So I'm going to talk about James Dobson. I'm going to talk about Focus on the Family. I'm going to talk about the Family Research Council, because all of it, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, and racist. So sources for this episode. It's a pretty short list, actually, because I got it all from their own websites. There's the drjamesdobson.org, the Family Research Council's website, Focus on the Family's website. I went to ProPublica. I went to the Southern Poverty Law Center website, and then the Wikipedia pages for James Dobson, the Family Research Council, and Focus on the Family. So trigger warnings, racism, sexism, homophobia, and transphobia. And I also want to make it clear, because I know it's going to happen and someone's going to say this, I am not anti-religion. We are not anti-religion. Everyone should be able to practice their religion. But
right.
If the practice of your religion involves denying other human beings their basic human rights,
we got a problem.
Then I've got a problem. I'm going to be fine with saying the way you practice your religion sucks. So let's start at the beginning. James Clayton Dobson Jr. was born April 21st, 1936 in Shreveport, Louisiana, in a very religious family. He is the son, grandson, and great-grandson of some ministers in the Church of Nazarene, I think is how you pronounce it.
Okay.
It is a very evangelical Christian denomination. Not angelical, evangelical. He loved to tell reporters that he learned to pray before he learned to talk. and that he gave his life over to Jesus at the age of 3. Okay.
I love you, Jesus.
I love you, Jesus. I give you my life.
Can I have a teddy bear now and some sugar cubes? I don't know what 3-year-olds say. I don't have children.
Poor little Jimmy. So a lot of the Nazarenes, they forbid dancing, just like in the movie Footloose. No dancing. And you weren't allowed to go to the movies. Like that sort of thing is frowned upon. So he really concentrated on his studies when he was a kid. He attended Pasadena College, which is now known as Point Loma Nazarene University. So that's a religious college, obviously. And he got a doctorate in psychology from the University of Southern California.
Really?
And yeah, so he did go to school. Like, it's just, you know,
what he does with his different, yeah.
Exactly. So in 1967, he became an associate clinical professor of pediatrics at the University of Southern California Medical School. He was there for 14 years. He spent 17 years on the staff of the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. And then in 1970, he wrote a book, and it was called Dare to Discipline.
Oh, no.
Which encouraged parents to use corporal punishment when disciplining their children. And this is like what put him on the map. And this is when he kind of leaves the medical profession, and now he's like, full-time, I'm just going to talk shit. So in 1977, he founded Focus on the Family. And what he did was they would publish these monthly bulletins that were like inserted into like Sunday church service programs.
Something
and then in
when you get bored.
Yeah, in between praying,
singing,
you could read about, you know, ways that you could, you know, oppress others. So then in 1981, he founded the Family Research Council, and that was supposed to be like the political arm of Focus on the Family. So it was all about like pushing the social conservative agenda onto politics. So on January 24th, 1989, here, I thought you would love this one. This would be super interesting. Dobson interviewed Ted Bundy. He sat down with an interview.
Oh, my God. I remember this.
Yeah. So he sat down. He did an interview with serial killer Ted Bundy. And this was like the day before he was supposed to be executed or something. And he recorded it. And the interview became really controversial because Bundy, like Dobson's like, why would you do these things? You know, and by the way, he like raped and murdered like more than 30 women.
Yeah, that we know about.
Yeah. So Bundy claimed in the interview, and he had never said this before, that it was because of violent pornography that he did these things. Mm-hmm. And that, you know, that's why he did all this stuff, is because he watched a lot of porn or whatever. And then that's really all Dobson needed to hear, right? So this is the thing he goes back to this a lot, like pornography makes people perverts and they do awful violent shit. So after that goes out, people like that puts Focus on the Family on the map, and that they made over $1 million from those tapes, like donations and stuff like that. And then they started funneling that money into anti-pornography and like anti-abortion groups, which, by the way, how are those connected? Whatever. They started funneling all their money into that stuff. So thanks a lot, Ted Bundy.
He fucked up a lot of things.
Yeah.
Such an asshole.
So in 2003, Dobson decides to step back from Focus on the Family. He remained on the board for years after that, but he was like, I'm ready to like pass it down to the younger generation, like handpicked some fucking douchebag to take over for him. But he was still like involved. So in October 2008, Dobson writes this letter, like a public letter, you know, and it's called Letter from 2012 in Obama's America. Here's what he thinks Obama's America is going to be like.
Bracing myself.
Okay. There's going to be mandated homosexual teachings in all schools. We're going to ban firearms in the United States. Fucking wish. The end of the Boy Scouts. no more homeschooling, no more Christian talk radio. Pornography on primetime and daytime television would increase.
Come on.
There's going to be a mandatory bonus for gay soldiers.
Were that only true, Sonia?
Yeah. And the end of healthcare for any American over 80. This is what he said in 2008.
In 4 years, that's what he thought was going to happen.
Yes.
If they voted for Obama, right? He's just trying to scare people from voting for him.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It didn't work, obviously, because Obama won. And none of those things happened. None of those things. Like, it's just so, once again, we're back to Newt Gingrich. The Newt Gingrich school of politics. It's just like everything is like lying. And if you say it, it must be true, and taking things to the extreme. So he writes this open letter, but let's keep in mind, like, he's on thousands of radio stations and like hundreds of television screens, and he's spouting this bullshit, and people hear it and they believe it. In 2008, even though he wrote this letter, Focus on the Family, the like radio program, was nominated to be inducted into the National Radio Hall of Fame.
Oh, for God's sakes.
And obviously, like, gay rights groups were like,
no thanks. No, thank you.
Yeah, why are we doing that? Doesn't matter. Got enough votes. It is inducted in the Radio Hall of Fame. So super cool and normal. So then 2009, he steps down from the board of Focus on the Family. And then he goes all in on his like 2010 organization that he founded called the Dr. James Dobson Family Institute. He claims it's nonprofit. And it's all about his fucking radio shows and all that stuff, you know. And again, now he's on like 300 radio stations, and he's on Fox News all the time. So why does this guy suck, and why does this organization suck? So James Dobson is a strong proponent of marriage as defined: one husband, one wife, or lawfully married, committed to each other for life. And the woman must be a homemaker, and the man must be the breadwinner.
Oh, God.
This is it.
That's not reductive or retro
No.
at all.
No, he says it is a biblically mandated role. Just FYI. I don't know.
I don't remember that, but okay.
I don't remember that part, but okay. So he, like I said, recommends women stay home with kids, focus on their mothering. Well, no working outside.
Let's make salaries good enough so that people can do that versus salaries being stagnant for 30 fucking years now.
Right. Yeah. This is only, yeah. So he, on his website, he wrote this article, and it's called Sex, Dating, and Purity.
Oh, I bet he knows a lot about it.
Yeah, he knows all about it. This is where he says that safe sex is a sham, that condoms don't work, and that pornography begets violent rapists, because that's what Ted Bundy told him. So,
and Bundy, by the way, we did an episode of him. Sorry to interrupt, but he was a fucking liar he lied about everything. He was manipulative.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a fucking sociopath. You don't have to listen to him.
No, he wasn't some fucking genius, by the way, as we talked about in the episode.
No.
Also, not handsome. Not handsome.
They always make him foxy and smart when they talk about him, and it's so annoying because he was neither of those things. We were saying
none of
if he was a model,
mediocre white man.
If he were a model in the 70s and 80s, he would not be in GQ. He'd be in a Sears catalog next to a lawnmower or something. Like, this is not... or leisure suits. Suits, those ads. That's what he would be doing. Like, this was, but it's also just goes right. Like, one person confirms what you want to believe.
Yes.
So that's what they go with. It's confirmation bias, and it's
And they are notorious for this. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a bit. So the author Jessica Valenti, she wrote The Purity Myth. It's like how America's obsession with virginity is hurting young women. And she wrote that Dobson's fear of women and anything that's feminine is so great that he often writes that boys will potentially, quote unquote, turn gay if they are not raised with appropriately masculine role models around them. Like,
not true.
Yes.
Right.
So if by his theory, like, single moms raising children, the son will turn out to be gay because strong masculine dad isn't around.
And almost every gay person I know comes from a straight family. Like,
Yeah,
they come from mom and dad family. Like, give me a break.
It's just lies. So Dobson now, he claims Focus on the Family has no interest in promoting hatred towards gay people. Sure. And he has actually said with a straight face, we don't wish to deprive them their basic constitutional rights. The Constitution applies to all of us. But he also strongly opposes the movement to legitimize same-sex marriage, to make it legal. It spent more than $500,000 to promote constitutional amendments to ban same-sex marriage in its home state of Colorado. So, yeah, you do want to deny people their basic constitutional rights. Like, these people like James Dobson, they act like they're constitutional scholars, but then they fucking skip the part about separation of church and state.
Right.
Like,
they're zealots.
Yeah, they're gross. By the way, Focus on the Family headquarters in Colorado Springs. Just saying.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
There was recently a mass shooting there at
a gay club.
At a gay club, and like 5 people died, dozens of people were injured. And I guess some people have vandalized the Focus on the Family like sign, saying like blood is on your hands and stuff. And I'm like, I'll allow it.
Yeah.
But whatever. Like, I'm like, it's fine. I'm fine with that. But also, fuck these people. So Focus on the Family encourages teachers to push for prayer in school. They're all about it. They fund stuff to get that path. Again, no separation of church and state. Surprise, they're also against critical race theory being taught in schools. They say it instructs kids to despise America.
Oh, Jesus.
And its founding fathers in the Constitution. And this is what James Dobson said. When added to the warping of children with LGBTQ ideology, transgender teachings, and other leftist concepts, you might understand why I'm convinced this curriculum represents the greatest threat to the institution of the family in the history of this nation. LOL.
For God's sakes.
He also organized this whole like protest about, so in 2004 there's so many organizations with like family like family in the name. Here's another one called We Are Family Foundation, and this is one that's actually about like talking about tolerance and diversity and stuff like that in a good way, not in a bad way. It's easy to get all of these things confused, by the way. So they, in partnership with a bunch of like studios, created a DVD that were sent to public schools, and it was like animated, and it had like SpongeBob SquarePants in it and stuff. And it was about like, hey, like we're all different. Like, you know, it was about tolerance and diversity and like being accepting and things like that. And Dobson freaked out and was like, quote unquote, tolerance and diversity are buzzwords. That it's like a hidden agenda to promote homosexuality. Yes, SpongeBob's gonna make you gay. Yeah, and he just said that, you know, childhood symbols are being hijacked to promote, you know, agenda, like the homosexual agenda. And again, like he'll talk about the word tolerance. But his idea of tolerance is that anyone who doesn't believe what he believes should be tolerant of him and his beliefs. They don't have to be tolerant of anyone else.
Right.
That's their thing. That's their jams. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about like just the organizations themselves. So Focus on the Family, their whole mission, this quote, that's right from their website, help and resources for couples to build healthy marriages that reflect God's plan. God's plan for parents to raise their children according to morals and values grounded in biblical principle. They have, in 2017, they filed to be a church, which is going to be a reoccurring theme in this. so they don't have to pay taxes.
Yeah.
This is an abuse in this country, by the way, is these organizations.
There was somebody, I have a friend in Miami, and with the election that happened just now, she's Catholic. And she said this was something that was passed around in Catholic groups. And it was all about how great Marco Rubio was because he doesn't believe in abortion at 9 months, which is not a thing, everybody.
Not a thing.
It's not a thing. But she's like, this is supposed to be a nonprofit. Why the hell? You don't pay taxes, and you shouldn't be able to talk about the election. That's it.
Yes. Yes. And these organizations are abusing this, and it's going to come up again and again in this episode. So they say, so they've declared themselves a church, so they don't have to pay taxes, but they want to say and how the country is run. Mm-hmm. They're really all about they say they're about helping couples build healthy marriages, and it's literally focus on the family, but really they're about changing public policy in areas of sex education, abortion, school prayer, what they consider the proper interpretation of gender roles, lobbying against gay rights, and that includes marriage, adoption, parenting, all of that is their focus. They promote things like conversion therapy, and they have been called out multiple times because they purposely take research and misquote it and misrepresent it to claim that two heterosexual parents will have children that do better in life than children with two gay parents. And these research papers that they're quoting are not even saying that. They purposely take things out.
Right.
And they're constantly being called out for it. And they just double down. And the researchers are I literally wrote the paper. This is not a thing. They just do it because if they say it, it must be true and people believe it.
Right.
So again, like I said, declared itself a church, super involved in politics. Following Roe v. Wade being overturned, the organization put out a statement that encouraged people to engage in a quote unquote cultural civil war against radical abortion laws, because some states are implementing their own laws. So basically encouraging people to be violent. Again, headquartered in Colorado Springs. So that's really upsetting. Now, the Family Research Council is an evangelical activist group, not angelical, evangelical. And it's all about promoting what it considers to be family values as well. And this originally created as the political arm of Focus on the Family. So it has opposed and lobbied against stem cell research and abortion and divorce, by the way, divorce.
Yeah, stay in a marriage that makes you fucking miserable.
Exactly.
That's great for kids.
Awesome. Lobbying against gay rights, including anti-discrimination laws. You should be able to discriminate against whoever you want, against same-sex marriage, same-sex unions, by the way, and gay people cannot adopt. That's what the Family Research Council stands for. They often promote that rhetoric of homosexuality leads to pedophilia, which is not a thing. And claiming that children of same-sex parents have more mental health problems than and also not true. And it is headed now, this organization, by Tony Perkins. Tony Perkins is a graduate of Liberty University.
Oh, my God.
Liberty University was founded by the Reverend Jerry Falwell. More on him later this season.
Yes, we'll get back to him. We have thoughts.
Fuck the Falwells. Fuck these people. Anyway, Perkins is, surprise, super racist, super sexist, super homophobic, super transphobic, and served as a Louisiana state representative for 8 years.
Awesome.
Yeah. He once gave a speech to the state chapter of the Council of Conservative Citizens. It's a white supremacist group. He has made a series of anti-gay statements. He claims that gay people are a danger to Christians. He once said that gay rights advocates are going to, and this is a quote, going to start rolling out the boxcars to start hauling off Christians.
What?
Yes.
Oh
yeah, we're going to start rounding up the Christians.
Nobody wants to do that.
I'm not gay, and I put myself in there, but it's like the
Allies.
implication isn't just that the gay people and their allies are going to start like persecuting Christians for being Christians. It's like not a thing, by the way, not a thing. This council is even against bullying. How can you be against bullying?
What do you mean? They're for bullying, you mean?
Yeah,
No?
I'm sorry. They're against anti-bullying rules. Thank you. That's what I was trying to say. So how can you be against anti-bullying?
Yeah, how?
I don't know. They say that it's just all that's doing is teaching kids to tolerate and is giving affirmation to homosexuals.
Sure,
the gays. The gays. No, they're like, you should be bullying these people. And even more example that these people are fucking evil. There was a bill in Uganda, the anti-homosexuality bill, that imposed a death penalty on people who were believed to be gay, and it was funded by the Family Research Council.
Fuck these people.
Eventually, by the way, it was overruled, so it didn't happen. Southern Poverty Law Center has defined the Family Research Council as a LGBT hate group. I wanted to mention this because it's always the people who scream the loudest. One of the founding board members is this guy named George Riekers. In May 2010, Riekers hired a prostitute as a travel companion, a male prostitute, for his 2-week vacation in Europe. He claims he's not gay, but he did get quote unquote sexual massages while they traveled Europe. It's always the people who scream the loudest.
No shit.
Always. This organization they're evil and they're stupid. Like, they once arranged this boycott of General Mills because General Mills donated cakes to some gay couples in Minnesota who got married after they legalized gay marriage in there. So then they're like, we're boycotting fucking Betty Crocker or whatever. It's like, whatever. Also on the Family Research Council, one of their big people on the board, Josh Duggar. Oh. Our old friend Josh Duggar was an executive director of the Family Research Council. Whatever happened to that guy? Oh, yeah. He resigned after it was revealed that he was molesting his sisters. And, he's in jail. So
yeah, he's in jail now. Yep.
Yeah. This organization also push they're, against gender affirming surgeries.
That's the new thing.
That's the new thing. Recently, the Senate passed a Respect for Marriage Act, and the Family Research Council sent out their fucking statement, and it's like, the U.S. Senate is making a mockery of marriage as it tramples on foundational right, the religious freedom of the individual. And I'm like, how does 2 consenting adults getting married trample on your religious freedoms? I'll never understand this. I'll never understand this. So this is clearly a political organization recently filed to be a church and approved.
What?
Approved.
What? No.
So they no longer pay. They no longer
under my
pay
desk
taxes. They no longer pay taxes.
Oh no.
They are no longer forced to disclose names of board members or any organ or anything that they get money from. So
we are so broken.
We're so broken. So here's where I'm going to tie it all up for us, because I want to end with this. So groups like Focus on the Family and Research Council, first of all, when you hear names like that, red flag. In passing, you're like, Family Research Council sounds harmless. It's not. Focus on the Family. a little less harmless sounding, but still, these are harmful organizations. And just be mindful when you're donating your money, your time, your energy. Like, look them up, because a lot of these organizations have these generic, okay sounding names when really they're garbage. So groups like Focus on the Family and the Research Council, they are successful in part because the media still treats these organizations like quote unquote conservative groups, you know, or churches, which they are not. They are political action committees. And they give them a platform in the media in good faith, when in fact they're hate groups. They're hate groups. And your racism, your sexism, your homophobia, your transphobia is not a difference of opinion. And the media is very like both sides on everything. And I'm like, we have to stop this.
Right.
That shit is not the other side. It's wrong. Like, the people that run these organizations and think these things should just save these shitty takes for awkward holiday dinners.
Right.
They do not deserve a seat at the table when setting public policy for everyone in this country. It's bullshit. And it makes me angry. So that's why I wanted to talk about James Dobson and his bullshit Focus on the Family and the Family Research Council. Fuck these people and fuck these groups. They're creeps.
Oh my God, Sonia. Ay, ay, ay. I didn't know a lot of that stuff, and that is so fucked up.
I didn't know that the I knew Focus on the Family. I was familiar with that because they used to send me stuff when I was a TV critic where they're like, we're really upset that a show like Nip Tuck even exists. And I was like, whatever.
So?
Like, I don't care. Yeah. I'm like, fuck off. Don't watch it then. Like, kids might see it. Well, if your kids are up at 10 p.m. on a Wednesday night watching Nip Tuck.
And
like,
are they even watching that?
No.
I'm sure it seems boring to them. They're not going to. They also freaked out about Bart Simpson the first year The Simpsons were on the air.
I know.
Because he was
so
a
ridiculous. Yeah. No, fuck these organizations. They're trash.
On that note, Sonia, me too. I need to take a hate break. So let's take a break. A hate break. We'll take a hate break, and then we'll come back with someone from Shreveport, Louisiana, who was not a creep. It's just like we're going to have everyone's going to just start doing that because it's like, well, fuck it. And then no one's paying taxes, and then what's getting done in this country?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
So here's something funny, Sonia. I'm going to talk about someone, but his last name, he's a part of our culture, was a part of our lives. We're 90s kids. Well, we were actually 70s kids, but we were like, the 90s were our time. We're Gen X. And he was someone who was a superstar then. Have you ever heard of Kevyn Aucoin?
Kevyn
Aucoin? So this is the problem. Aucoin. He was a makeup artist?
Mm-mm.
Okay. You didn't watch House of Style like I did.
No.
Okay. So he's a superstar in my mind. But for people who were into fashion and beauty in the 80s and 90s, he was, literally and figuratively a giant. He was a very tall guy. But
House of Style was huge on MTV. It's just, I didn't watch it. That doesn't mean it wasn't insanely popular. Cindy Crawford was the shit.
But also they had like fashion TV was on every week. Like fashion used to be much more like there was a show for it, and then he was. Yeah. So Kevyn, well, you can also pronounce it as Aucoin because it's a French name, but he's from Shreveport, Louisiana. So it's actually, I'm saying Aucoin because that's just what I always heard when I was growing up and all that stuff. So Kevyn Aucoin, if you look him up, you might know. If you look at his image.
Just looking. I'm going to look him up. Because then I probably will recognize him.
He was born February 14th, 1962, to a single mother who was very young. She was a teenager. And he was adopted out into a family of the Aucoin family. And he moved from Shreveport to Lafayette, Louisiana, which is, if you're not familiar, it's bayou country. In that part of our country, there's a very distinct accent, and there's a lot of Catholicism. There's a lot of also religiousness going on, religiosity there, snake handlers, but also just like very deeply religious people. I mean, it's just like a lot of extremes. And the southern Louisiana culture is just its own little microcosm in the U.S.
Yes.
And Kevyn's growing up there. His family were very religious. And he realized when he was about 6 years old that he was gay. And it's just one of those things. That's what he knew. If he could be not gay, it would have been a lot easier for him in a lot of ways.
I recognize him, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
So as a teenager, he realizes he's gay. And he was very tall. He was always like the tallest. He grew up to be, well, we'll talk about his height in a second, but he was 6'4" when he was first becoming famous. One time he was always fascinated with makeup. So first you start with your mom's makeup and your sister's makeup as these things go, if you're a makeup person. And then he started, he would take Polaroids of these. He would do makeup on his sister's dolls and on his sister's face and then take Polaroids of her. And he's growing up in this very small town in Louisiana. They're the people that would like the Family Research Council. They're not.
Yeah.
I know tons of people in Louisiana, by the way. They're amazing people.
Yeah.
New Orleans is in Louisiana, okay? Like, it's not like a total... There's fun that's happening there, but there's some people that are very strict. Yes. He was relentlessly bullied and teased as a little kid. He moved to a bigger city before he moved to New York, and he had some friends, and they were... this is in the late 80s, and he was... I'm sorry, in the late 70s into the 80s, and they went into a shopping center in a very fancy pants shopping center in the South, and they were hanging around the makeup counter, and a security guard went up to them and says, okay, do you want this upstairs or downstairs? And what they meant was, you're either going to be arrested or we're going to beat the shit out of you. So we either take you to the police or we're going to take you in the back and beat the shit out of you to keep you from coming into the store. He was chased by a gang of hoodlums in a truck, like in Forrest Gump. Like, he had that happen to him.
Aww.
And he told his family he was gay. And at first they were like, no, we're Christian. You can't be. They eventually, by the way, started the first PFLAG movement in Shreveport, Louisiana. They were very, very supportive of him. It just took them, because they were raised in a culture that says gay was bad. He grew up with this. He grew to be about 6'4". He drops out of school and then he goes to high school. Then he goes into a makeup school, a beauty school. And he gets so good, he's teaching there. And he has this thing, he's known for contouring a face, and which everybody does now, but like it was revolutionary time. Like, you could change a person's complete appearance by contouring. He gets into this, and he's still in these small towns in the South, but he's still being threatened. Like I said, he couldn't get a job at a makeup counter because they said, oh, women don't want to have a man working on them. You're tall and you're gay. You're frightening. I know. But he thought about it. He's like, they're going to go in and spend $3,000 on a dress, but they won't spend $30 on makeup from me. Like, he realized it's bullshit. So he and his boyfriend moved to New York City. And he starts going around the modeling agencies and he says to these models, I'll work on your face for free. I just want to take a Polaroid and I want to start my own. What's the word I'm thinking of? But he's like, he's garnering clients.
His own brand.
Yeah. And portfolio, that's the word I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
And one of those models that he hits it off with is Cindy Crawford, who we were just mentioning. And she's this teenager from the Midwest. And they have a lot in common. And and she really likes him, and she likes his Polaroids. And she gets the cover of Vogue magazine in August of like 87, 88, which she did one of those models things on MTV, and it was like a group of models on stage talking about the state of modeling. It was a real think tank, I'll tell you that.
Oh my God. Modeling, fashion, all that stuff was so, like, George Michael videos were like all about models, like...
Supermodels were it. Yeah. I mean, the 70s had big models, for sure. Cheryl Tiegs, Christy Brinkley, Lauren Hutton. What do they all have in common? Blonde. Like the sunny, what they call all-American, which is totally a bullshit expression because there's no such thing. And he was more attracted to different kinds of people. Like, blondes are great, but they're like golden retrievers. Everyone's going to love a blonde. He's like, but he was more into different people and bringing
Yeah.
out their beauty. He was all about inner beauty. And he would say, it doesn't matter how much makeup you have on. If you don't have a pretty soul, there's no point. Like you're an asshole. He says it more eloquently than that. So Cindy Crawford found out about his Polaroids and found about his makeup and says, I'm going to be on the cover of Vogue magazine. Would you do it? And he's like, I'll do it for scale. Like, Vogue, are you kidding me? In the 80s? And fashion magazines were also really thick with ads. Like, they made a lot of money. And after that, everybody wants to work with Kevyn. Mm-hmm. And like I said, super tall, super handsome, and so sweet. And he was a Southern gentleman. And here are some of his clients. Whitney Houston adored him. Cher, Madonna, Liza Minnelli, Courtney Love, Tina Turner, Janet Jackson, Naomi Campbell, Tori Amos, Vanessa Williams. Those are just some of the women.
That's a wide range of different kinds of women, too.
So he gets offers from makeup companies, and he says, I'll work with you, but I want to create a brand that celebrates all beauty. So those tints and moisturizers that are tinted and the foundations used to be like beige, a little more beige, and then sunburnt, like brown, like tan. There was nothing in between, and there's nothing great. The spectrum was really, really narrow. Yes. And as somebody who's just super fair skinned like I am, it was always a nightmare because it's always just a little too dark, and you get that thing around your chin. You look like you're...
Yes.
So Kevin's like, bullshit. Skin tones come in all different shades, and there's all different kinds of beauty out there. And he said, if you allow me to do this, and Ultima 2 was struggling for any kind of share in the marketplace, and they really wanted to. So they're like, okay, whatever you think. So he's the first one that comes up with this beauty for all. And there's shades for all women. He's so famous. He does all the big, modeling shoots. He was on Will and Grace. He was a name.
Yes.
And he, at one point, he's getting more famous. And when he's about 30 or so, he decides he's going to look for his mother. He has great parents that raised him, his mom and dad. He loves them. And I have friends that my friends that are adopted, they either don't want to know or they absolutely want to know. There's no in between. There's no ambivalence. It's just who,
There's got to be a curiosity there. There doesn't have to be.
No,
but
I have friends that are
I
like,
would
I
assume
don't
there
care.
is.
Yeah, I have friends that are just like, I don't care. Like, maybe I should know, like, for health reasons, like if something runs in but other than that, they don't give a shit. But he knew somebody, and he always felt, because he was always the outsider, he was the tallest in the family. They were all adopted. All the kids were adopted, but he always just felt out of place because he was gay and he was flamboyant and whatever. Anyway, so he meets his birth mother. And she says, I was in high school. I couldn't take you in. And she's like, but I'm happy to meet you. And they have this really nice session. They meet each other. And he filmed everything. He always had a video camera with him on top of everything. So there's a couple of documentaries about him, and it's all his stuff. He gets to know his mother, and he says, do you have any regrets? And she tells him, my only regret is that you're gay. Yeah. Like, wouldn't accept it. Like, it was so disappointing to her. He was incredibly successful. He was sweet. He was lovely. He was adored by people around him. And she tells him that.
That's awful.
It's fucked up. He writes some best-selling books that are still, like, top sellers. He has his own line of makeup. You can go to Amazon. I'm going to get some lip gloss. I was like, ooh, that's the shade I need. Anyway. He also, in his life, started getting headaches, and he's growing. He's still growing. Like, his head is growing and his body's growing. He in his 30s, he was still, and his face was getting bigger, and his shoes were growing two sizes bigger, and he can't figure out why. And somebody says, it's your pituitary gland. You got to look this up. He's in terrible pain because his body's just expanding and growing, and it's just, not like in a fun way like the Hulk. Like, it's really just super painful for him.
Yeah.
He doesn't get superpowers from it. He's just getting these horrible headaches, and his joints hurt and everything. And they find out that there's a tumor in his pituitary gland, and they remove the tumor. It's not the tumor. It was a tumor.
Yeah.
But by this point, he's addicted to painkillers. And he's taking so many. He could barely function. He gets married, and it's not legal in the U.S. yet, but it's like 1999. He gets married in Hawaii, and he has, and because the marriage, we'll get to this, but he gets married, and he starts retreating from people. His appearance is changing. Like, people can notice there's something up with his face. Like, he does not look the same, and he's embarrassed and he's upset. You can't cover it up. I mean, it's just, there's nothing you could do. So he starts retreating from people. He stops going out. He stops doing gigs. He's making enough money to support himself. And he leaves his husband, and his husband's like ready to kick him out. Like, you got to do something, because it's messing everything up. His family's trying to help him. And at some point, he went to Paris for a week, and he said, I'm going to Paris for a week to detox. It's like, you don't go to Paris to detox. Like, that's just,
you go to Paris to eat cheese and drink wine.
It's a place of decadence. You don't go there to,
no.
Right. I mean, I love Paris, by the way. But, so anyway, he's in Valhalla, New York, which is upstate, and he just very quickly started feeling sick, staying home, and then he just passes away from liver failure. And what's said to people is that he had kidney and liver failure, and they're like, oh, he had this disease, and it made his head grow, and that's what killed him. But what really happened was that he overdosed.
It's really sad.
And it's terribly sad. And because he and his husband aren't legally married, it's not recognized, Kevyn's body is taken to his family's in Louisiana. Kevyn wanted to have it be cremated and have his ashes spread over Hawaii. That was his favorite place in the world. And instead, a year later, his adopted mother, died. And they said it was from grief. They were very close. And she just completely stopped taking care of herself, and she died.
Aww.
So he is now interned at the Holy Mary Mother of God Cemetery in Louisiana with his mother. And I'm not sure who has the money. I have to look that up. But still, the name Kevyn Aucoin, or Aucoin, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
He's still a thing. The makeup is beautiful, and it's not cheap. It's good stuff, and they sell it on Amazon. He had 2 best-selling books. He was in all kinds of TV shows and movies. He did acting, Making Faces, The Art of Makeup. These are like really huge bestsellers. And he actually, in 1999, he received an honorary diploma from the Harvey Milk High School for his support of gay and transgender youth. He was also very much into gay politics. And he said it was not enough to be out. You have to be out and proud to show all the kids that are scared that it's okay to be gay.
Yeah.
You'll find happiness. You'll find friends. You'll find, you know what I mean? It's okay. You can't just be tolerant of it.
Right.
Acceptance is a whole other level, and you only can accept people if you can see that they're happy and they're well adjusted. It's a way of keep not tolerating someone is to other them, and then they're shy and they're not coming out, and it's like, see how bad it is to be gay? Look what your life is like. And Kevyn's like, fuck you. I'm going to move to New York. I'm going to be a star, and he did. And so anyway, sadly he passed away 20 years ago in 2002. But his memory lives on. He is a super. If he were around today, he'd be on Instagram. I'm sure if you go on Instagram or TikTok
for sure
and look up Kevyn Aucoin,
sure.
you're going to find a lot of people. He is the reason all that got started. Like all the makeup artists became famous, and transformation of beauty, and how beauty and makeup can be a fun form of expression that doesn't have to cost you a lot of money, and it doesn't matter what size you are. Like you can just be beautiful in any way you want to be.
Yeah.
Whoever
you
are.
Go on TikTok. There's all kinds of women that do, men and women, I should say, that do like contouring and show how it changes your face. And they also talk about like, here's the expensive version of something and here's the dupes, right? Like the cheaper, more affordable ones that you could get at Walmart and Target and stuff like that. That stuff is interesting. It is so interesting.
And I'm sure if you look up Kevyn Aucoin, you're going to find a lot there. He's a huge influence.
It's so sad that his marriage wasn't recognized. And this is another reason why people should be allowed to legally marry who they want to marry.
You don't have to go to the wedding.
For reasons like this. Like his husband, his chosen partner, like can't make decisions for
Right.
for his funeral and like where he's buried and being cremated, like all those things. These are the reasons why people want to get married. Like, you know, people like James Dobson and his fucking creepy organizations love to talk about like the sanctity of marriage and it's between a man and a woman. Like, dude, get your marriage for your like godly reasons if you want. But the truth is, it's a legal thing.
It is.
And people should be able to be married to whoever they want so that they can have these things in place to protect them.
Right. That's the whole point.
Yeah, it makes me sad. And once I looked him up and like saw the name and like saw the pictures, I was like, I remember all of this.
It's Kevyn and then it's Aucoin, and you'll know who that is. But he was always on House of Style. He was always like all those shows. Like he was the makeup artist. Whitney Houston's videos, like everyone used him. And they all say the same thing. He was the sweetest. He was the nicest. Aww. He was so accepting of other people. And he just wanted to make the world beautiful.
Aww. And it looks like there's this documentary called Larger Than Life.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch that.
It's on Amazon streaming right now, so I'm going to watch it too tonight. So that's going to be... Well, we'll talk about that in a second, our next dorking out. But that's our not creep this week. Kevyn Aucoin, or Aucoin, however you want to pronounce it.
Good choice. Excellent choice.
He deserves it, you know?
Yeah, he does.
But you could still, like I said, you'll still get his stuff, and it's amazing. And so thank you all so much for listening. And if you like the sound of our voices... And I was at Thanksgiving yesterday, and somebody came up to me and said, I just love your voice. And so you and Sonia, such great voices. And I listen every week. It's one of my friends.
That's
I didn't know
sweet.
that listened, but they were like, oh, yeah, I love when you say that because I do love your voices. I know some